back to another web development with Flask tutorial. My name is Ronak Vyas and this video is a collaboration with Programming Knowledge. In the previous videos, we talked about how we can set up a Hello World function, Hello World app using Flask. We also talked about how we can use templates and template inheritance in Flask. And using template inheritance, we were able to build a nav bar, the code for which is common for all the web pages, but it only has one basic.html. In this video, we'll talk about how users can input their data into a form, and we will be using that concept to build a sign up and login page. So let's go and just make sure our web app is up and running. So we use Flask run, and let's just see that our website is up and running. Yes, and it is. So we'll get to the sign up and login part later, but our website is up and running and this is how it looked like. And now before we jump on to building the sign up and login page, we have to talk about something called as HTTP requests. And the two very famous and very common HTTP requests are get and post. So the get method is when the user wants to fetch something from the web server, some information from the web server. So when we refresh the web page, we see that the web app has performed a get request where it gets all the code from the server and displays us the code through the web browser. And post is when the user sends some information to the web server. So when a user wants to sign up or log in, it sends its information to the web server, which is then stored into a database, which we'll talk about in a future video. But the main function of a post request is that the user can send information to the server. So using these two HTTP requests, we are going to build up the next part of our tutorial, which is how to build a sign up and login page. So we will not be adding the entire user authentication features today. We'll only talk about how we can send information from the user back to the server and then see how that happens. And we'll also set up some UI for that code so that we can make sure that the project is also up and running as we learn the concepts. So let's get started. Now to build a sign up or login form, we need a form in our website. So as I did for the nav bar, I'm going to go to Bootstrap again and take up the first form here, which is what we need. And we'll be using these forms in our sign up and login pages and use them for later use as well. So these are the forms. The link is in the description, and the code for this video is also in the description, the GitHub repository. Please, you can fork the repo and clone the repo on GitHub and use it as you feel like. So now I have copied this code and I have pasted this in our templates for sign up. Let's see sign up first. We have talked about how template inheritance works in the previous video and how we can also override it with our content. Now here is our code for sign up and login. So for sign up, this is the Bootstrap classes. We have a name, we have an email address, password, and sign up. You can also add another functionality where the user can type the password again to confirm the password and then sign up. And after this, the information of the user is sent back to the server, which we'll be focusing on today. So this is how the HTML looks like. We'll talk about the form methods in a minute, but let's actually see how this works. So we have the HTML file, and now we need a way to actually extract that information from the HTML pages, from the HTML file, when a user actually clicks on the sign up button. So let's see how we can do that. And the mechanism for the sign up.html is under auth, as you remember here. Now by default, this uses the get request, as you can see here. And now when a user wants to send some information to the web server, we have a post request. Now in many tutorials, you see that the developer, the programmer, handles both the get and the post request in one single function. But just to make the functions really clear and concise, we'll be having another function which is called a sign up post, and only that function will handle all the sign up part regarding the post request. So let's just see how it looks like. So we'll have a route again. So it's going to be sign up because we'll be using that, because the user sends that information back to the sign up route. And now, since this is going to be a post request, we can add a HTTP method here. So methods equal to post. You can also add get, but that is by default, so we'll just be showing post for now. So we have our sign up route ready, and now let's have a sign up post function. Now we have a sign up post. Now we need a few libraries to build this post function. So first we need something called as request, and we need something called redirect. We'll talk about what these mean in a bit. Now let's see how the mechanism works. So we have a form HTML tag here. So the form tag handles all the information that is being sent back to the web server. The method is post, as we're going to send a post request. The action or the route which has to open up, or to which the information has to be sent back, is the sign up route. So here we have our inputs, so the input for name, and we make sure that the ID and the name is also given inside the input, because we'll be accessing the content of that input using the name tags. So give it an ID, give it a name. All of this is from the Bootstrap class here. As you can see, label, input type, class, placeholder, ID, etc. Just add another name here for each and every input tag. So we have the name, we have the email address with the name email, the password with the name password, and when you give the type as password, it hides the text in the password format. Now, when the user clicks on sign up, which is the type submit, what happens behind the scene is that all the information is sent back to the sign up route, and it's a post request. So all the information comes back to this function, and now we need a way to access access those data, right? So first let's access the email. We use the request library, which has the form function, and we get the email. Similarly, we get two other things. We get the name of the user, which is inside the name, and also the password. Now in this way, we have collected the email, name, and password from the signup.html page, and we can do whatever with it for now. In the future videos, we're going to take up these names and then put them inside a database in SQLite. But for now, I'm just going to display just to make sure that the post request is working. I'm going to display that in the terminal and see whether we're able to get this or not. And also, when we set up user authentication, we're going to hash the password and then store the hash, not the actual password, so that there are no security breaches in our web application. So now that we have this, let's just print them out in the terminals. We have the email, name, and password. And let's just assume that this has been sent to the database. So now that it has been sent to the database, we have to redirect the user, or direct the user to the login page, because they have signed up now and they can log in. So we use the redirect function. So the redirect function is where you can directly send the user to any page you want. So we use the redirect function. Inside that we have a URL for, because we want to make sure that we are following the notion to on.login. Now, using the request library, we get the email, name, and password, which has been sent back to this function, sign up post. It handles the post request. And once the post has been sent back to this function, we redirect to the login page, because once the user has signed up, they can log in now. So we'll set up the login page similarly in a bit, but let's see whether this works or not. So we can refresh this. We can go to the sign up page and see how our sign up page looks like. So we have the sign up, name, address. You can add another field for confirming the password and sign up. And once you click on sign up, it goes to the sign up post function here, where it has the method post and has the route sign up. We get the email, name, password, and then we print the password in the terminal here, not on the web page, because we're going to do that later in the videos. And then we redirect our user to the login page. So let's close our application, run it again to make sure that we can do it now. Let's refresh, everything is stable, and let's say we have a John Doe who wants to sign up. So John Doe at gmail.com, and the password also John Doe, and sign up. Now as you can see, when we clicked on sign up, we went back to the login page, and when you see here, we are able to see our email, name, and password. So in this way, you can actually send user data from a form, from an HTML form here, to our Flask function, send it back to the server, and then we can do whatever we want with those information. So for our use case, we're going to store them into a database, and while we do that, we also hash the password so that there are no security breaches. Now similarly, let's make the login page. So again, I use the forms code for my login.html page, which you can see here, the login, email address, password, and remember me. So we'll see how we can set this up later. And again, we have the name as email, the password as password, and for remember me, we have the remember ID. So now that we have this, let's just go to name remember as well while we're at it. And now let's see how we can write the code. So the code is going to be exactly similar. We have a login post. Before that, we set our route. So auth.route goes to login again, and the methods is post. And now once a user logs in, we want to redirect them back to the account page, not the home page, because I want the user to see its name and the account, which I'm going to set up in the next video. But so what we do is we redirect the URL, and we do that to main.profile, if I'm right. So let's just see our main, and we have the profile, yes. So we send it back to the profile, and now here what we do is we take the email from request.form.get, and we get our password, sorry about that, and let's go back to this. Yes, that was the issue. And let's print our email and password as well to make sure that we have actually got them back on the server using the post request. So now again, the same format, we have the login action, the method is post, we use a form, the form has the ID and name as email, the password as well, and for the input type. Now when we click on login, we also type submit, it goes back to the login action but a post. So it goes to this function, and we extract the email and password using the request library. We print those email and password, and then we redirect the user back to the profile page. So let's see how this works. We close the port, run it again. Now let's go back. Sign up page is looking good. Login also looks good. So we have John Doe, or let's take Ronak, my name. And sorry, the email has to be ronak@gmail.com. That's not my actual email, but we have a password on 123. We press login, and as you can see, we went back to the profile page, and here my email ID and password, which is not my actual password and ID, they have been shown here on the terminal. So clearly this works, and now we can use this whenever we want to build up our actual sign up and login page. So again, to just reiterate on what we have done here, let's go to the sign up page again and see what just happened. We use the form to actually input some data from the user here. Then that data using had sent back to the sign up page, sign up route in a post format, and here in the post function we get that email and everything back from the user. We print them or we store them in a database in the next video, and then we redirect the user back to the login page because they have signed up now. Coming to the login feature, we go to the login HTML page, we click on submit, we go to the login route with the method post, which is right here, and again we take the email and password, and here in the next video we're going to check the email if it exists in the database, and if it does then we're going to log in the user. So we'll be adding those functionalities later, but again we're able to actually get the information from the user using a form. This is how we can have users input their data into a form and then send the information back to the server using an HTTP post request. So in the next video, we'll talk about how we can show our data or pass our data or Python code from our from our functions, from our Python code to HTML code. So now when a user logs in with the email and password, we're going to show his email ID here on the account page that this is the person who has just logged in. So we can do this as well, and this will be done in the next video. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys.